And then the Doom guy decided to stay in hell for all of eternity, and no one else would ever hear of his story again because that video game has never been re-released, and it never will. Oh, hold on. This is Travis Guy. They're doing what? Doom 64 is a weird freaking game. Released 2 years after Doom 2, it was a Nintendo exclusive. A goddamn Nintendo 64 exclusive. But to the layman, you might not know what the big deal is. Doom 64? Is that like Mega Man 64? Another game that's retitled to have 64 in the title? How many times can I say 64? Quake 64? That's another one. I don't see what the big deal is. It's just Doom but on the Nintendo 64. Okay, but it's so much more than that! It is a completely original Doom 2 sequel with brand new artwork, brand new weapons, brand new bosses, brand new jump scares. I picked this up at Too Many Games 2019 and it was about $30, which isn't bad, especially for a game that's never been re-released before. But I gotta confess something. I don't have a Nintendo 64. Someone ported it to PC, we're good. Alright, I know that I've used source parts for basically every PC shooter game that I've reviewed on this channel, from Doom, Doom 2, and Quake. But with Doom 64, this is really my only option here. I don't have a Nintendo 64, and there are other source ports out here, and Doom 64 EX is just the one that I'm going to choose to use for this video. I don't really have much to say about the original 64 version of the game. I tried it out when I was in Pennsylvania for Too Many Games because my friend that I was staying with had a Nintendo 64 for me to test it on, but I mean, you're controlling it with this thing. But what's the big deal with Doom 64? Why does everyone want this game re-released, and why was it such a big deal? What sets it apart? It's dark, scary, baby's crying. Actually, that's not entirely true. The soundtrack for Doom 64 was composed by Aubrey Hodges, who you might remember from my Quake video, wink wink nudge nudge. He composed the soundtrack for the elusive PS1 port of Doom, which, once again, swaps out all of Doom's rockin' tracks for more droning ambient pieces. But once again, that fucking theme song, man, that theme song! Though I wish it lifted a bit more than just the main theme for Doom on the PS1. The level intermission and ending themes are both fantastic in their own right, and they just weren't used in Doom 64. They have such a unique sound and feel to them that it gives Doom this amazing, just heavy feeling to it that no other game has really been able to replicate. And also, despite not being in this or in Doom PS1, the Icon of Sin monologues the ending to you as if he's reading it to you like a goodnight story.
You did it. By turning the evil of the horrors of hell in upon itself, you have destroyed the power. Now you can retire.
The level music itself is kind of boring and a bit droning, which kind of makes the levels a bit boring and droning. But that's just my opinion. I prefer rocking out while slaying demons. Some people want to be kind of scared by the ambience. I respect it, it's just not for me. But I'll give Doom 64 credit though, it kept me glued to my seat. With Doom 1 and 2, I recorded those games over the span of a few days, but Doom 64, I finished in a single sitting with few breaks in between. Because Doom 64 brings so much to the table that I just didn't expect. I guess you could say it's a map pack with a texture overhaul, but it just feels like so much more than that. Let's look at the first level of the first Doom, E1M1. You spawn with a pistol, and you move through 2 or 3 smaller rooms, you run into an imp, you got zombie dudes, shotgun is hidden behind a secret, and that's it. It's really simple, but it gives you a good idea of what to expect for the game. The first level of Doom 64, the shotgun is handed to you right off the bat. You've got pinkies, you've got zombie dudes, you've got an imp at the very end of the level. Wow, you are really tall. You've got to backtrack a bit to use a key card, because you have a key card in the first level. You get locked in a room with pinkies, you can get an early chainsaw and a buttload of secrets if you care enough. Consider me Whoa! Consider me impressed. I assumed that since this was all being crammed into a late 90s video game cartridge, the levels would be a lot smaller than what we actually got, but no, these levels are on par with Doom 2 in some areas. Maybe not as large as Doom 2 levels, but much larger than the first games. It's a nice little middle ground. And to top level one off with sort of a gory cherry, it has probably the most elaborate secret entrance to a level that I've ever seen before. You gotta blow up all of these explosive barrels that are littered all over the map in a certain order, and a portal will appear back at the beginning of the level, and going through that will take you to one of the most frustrating secret levels I've ever had to play. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you're really set on getting everything in the game, including all of the features, which is where you'll find some of the fun levels of the game. They're labeled fun, I didn't come up with that title. You have to go through all of these elaborate rooms in order to pick up all 3 keycards, and one of them locks you in a room with a bunch of arachnotrons with nothing but a couple rocket launchers in order to kill them. The other one puts you on a narrow bridge with a bunch of Hell Knights, and with the rocket launcher being your only weapon that has a little kickback when you fire it, you're gonna be falling off this thing a lot. And then the arrow room, that is just absolute murder on your ears. I don't want to talk about it. And for a reason that I'll come back to in a little bit, this just didn't feel worth it to me, honestly. Though I think this has the first third-person death in the entire game, actually. It teases you with all of these pickups, and if you collect any of them, it'll kill you in one way or another, some of them slower than others. And this one just has the camera zoom back as you explode, I guess. It's kinda cool, I like that. Though the console's limitations do show with the enemy count, as most enemy encounters are rather small. You do have some levels where there's a ton of demons on screen at once, but the level itself is literally 1 or 2 rooms. Though these levels are being padded out with some switch hunting and backtracking, making them feel a lot larger than they actually are. I am so tired of switch hunting. Doom 64 has the most backtracking of any Doom I've played so far. Pick up one key, use it on a door that's really far away, flip a switch somewhere, run around like a 4-year-old lost in a party city, lather, rinse, repeat until, God, this is so mind-numbing. No disguising progression as a ball and cup puzzle will not help. It's this one, by the way. Wait, what do you mean? That's not to say that the game is a slog though, because I was pretty impressed with the engine here. Early on, you have this 3D printer sort of level where the level assembles in front of you, and as you go around flipping switches, it'll dispense items like keycards or even a rocket launcher. You never really saw stuff this creative in the first 2 Dooms, and if they did do anything like this, it felt more like John Romero or John Carmack physically handing them to you, rather than it feeling like it belongs in the level itself, which is really cool. Doom 64 gave me a sense of immersion that the first 2 Dooms haven't managed to give me so far. Near the end of the second level, there's this cool little crusher thing. You go into a room, it locks you in, and then these parts from the ceiling come down and break the floor open for you to proceed to the end of the level. And again, this is so freaking cool. I've never seen anything like this in the Doom engine. Now, most of these mesmerizing moments are only in the beginning of the game. At the end of the game, the most impressive thing you're gonna get is, wow, the level's green. Which, don't get me wrong, is pretty cool. This is something that they tested a bit with Doom for the PS1. I believe that was the first game to experiment with colored lighting. But Doom 64 is the first original campaign to actually utilize it. We've got lots of reds, we've got lots of blues, we've got yellows, we've got greens, and it does a great job at setting the mood and covering up these awkward new enemy sprites. God, I don't like some of these. I like some of them, I guess. It just kind of starts to dip into the uncanny valley for me. The enemy sprites in the first 2 games were so low res that it let your imagination take over a bit. I look at the Zombie Man sprite in the first 2 games and I think, oh, that's probably a face. But then I look at the same sprite updated in Doom 64 and I think, yep, that definitely looks like a face of an action figure. Some of the redesigns are just higher res updates, while others are just straight up redesigns, like the Pinkies, Cacodemons, and Pain Elementals. Dude, what the hell happened to you? I loved the Pain Elementals in Doom 2. They looked so goofy. They looked like the Cacodemons' stupid little brother that walks into your room and is like, hey, you got games on your phone? Like this dude. I don't even know where to start with you, man. It looks like you just came out of a rock concert. Was that mullet inspired by John Romero? I hate fighting the Pain Elementals, but at least I could be redeemed by how fucking stupid they look. But this... you look dumb. Now, some of these redesigns can be explained by the new plot of Doom 64. Yeah, this game has a plot, just hold on. Actually, in my opinion, I think that this is probably the best story that Doom has received so far. Doom Guy is suffering from a bit of PTSD after the events of the last 2 games. Hell is no place for mortal men to experience, and far away in a last-ditch effort to get rid of the demonic threats, they've bombarded the infested UAC facilities with apocalyptic levels of radiation. However, this only makes things worse, as a remote satellite housing the newest threat to the Doom universe, the Mother Demon, is worn down, setting her free. with Doomguy knowing he'll never be able to rest as long as hell keeps continuing to send its forces to our universe. The Mother Demon breathes life back into every demon that has been slain by the Doomguy's hands, with all of his work from the first 2 games being practically undone. Your assignment is clear. Merciless extermination. This is very much Doom 3. This is my Doom 3. I don't care. I know Doom 3 is a separate game. This is Doom 3. This is set up for the end of Doomguy's mission. Closure for the character, admittedly who had very little character development to begin with, but still. For what they had to work with, this does build up to a pretty freaking rad finale. So yeah, anyway, that's why the Pain Elemental's got a mullet now. Though I think that they missed a chance to introduce some new demon types to the game. Aside from the Mother Demon, who is the only fully original demon you'll encounter, we don't have any other original demon types, just reskins of previous enemies. There are the Nightmare Imps, which are slightly beefier versions of Imps, and they look cool, they're slightly translucent, and their fireballs are purple, and hey, I won't complain, purple's my favorite color. But this is the closest we have to a new demon type that isn't the final boss, which is really unfortunate. It's not as bad as the Hell Knights though. I freaking hate these things in this game. On top of them sounding like a mildly annoyed grandpa who wants you to get off of his freshly mowed lawn, these bastards are fucking everywhere, probably because of the low enemy count. They just decided, hey, we gotta make the game difficult somehow, but we can't have 200 imps come out of nowhere. What do? Let's just throw Hell Knights everywhere. They look so goofy, and they always look like they're about to give me the roast hand every time they throw a fireball. What the f*** is this? Well, Doomguy, I'll tell you. This is the Unmaker, the one and only new weapon that Doom 64 has to offer. It uses plasma ammo, much like the BFG, but don't worry, the BFG is still in this game. Settle down, it's okay, it's okay. And here's the cool part, it's upgraded through artifacts that you collect in secret levels. Thank fucking God. It has taken them so long for me to actually give a damn about the secret levels in these games. I didn't care about them in Doom 1, even though there's that one that I always access on accident. I didn't really care about them in Doom 2, though I think that Doom 2 had probably the coolest one, with it being a retro throwback to Wolfenstein. And with Quake, I didn't even bother. There's that one where you have low gravity, but I don't care. I have fun with some of them. The Wolfenstein one is pretty fun, but there's no real point to bring them up because there's no drive to have me to do these secret levels because they don't reward you with anything. Until now with the Unmaker. This thing is super cool, but when it's fully upgraded, it is borderline overpowered and makes the rest of the game a freaking joke. But this is exactly what I wanted the runes in Quake to be. They just sat on your bar, they did nothing. I wanted them to do something. My idea was giving you like invincibility or quad damage on command, but this idea is much better, giving you a weapon that upgrades as you collect these things. Like, yeah, this makes the game a bit too easy at points, but that's okay because the novelty of this thing is enough to keep my G's BF'd. What the fuck did I just say? Speaking of the weapons themselves look pretty nice though. I like what they did with this graphical upgrade. Though you don't really see Doomguy's hands very often, and when you do, they look kind of photorealistic and kind of gross. The plasma rifle looks absolutely beautiful, and the BFG looks fantastic. The rest really aren't anything to write home about, but oh my fucking God, the super shotgun. Look at how they've massacred my boy. Okay, listen to the super shotgun in Doom 2. It's a heavenly sound if there ever was one, with a very in-your-face animation that's aided by the game's rhythm and sound and overall feeling. It's perfect. Okay, now look at how it shoots in Doom 64.
What an ever-living piss is this?
Why did they change it? It's just and that's it. It doesn't really do anything. It's not cool. You don't reload it on your own. You don't do anything. It's such a bizarre change. It's so lazy. It doesn't sound good. It doesn't look good. Why? Oh boy, guys, Cyber Demon's back, except this time I got the BFG by the time I encountered him, so he was super fucking easy. No, if you want a good Cyber Demon boss fight, then look no further than our first fun level, remember those? Cat and Mouse. This is amazing. I really wish this level was in the base game. This was the most engaged I was in the entire game, and it was awesome. You're in this labyrinth sort of setting, and you're constantly being chased by a Cyber Demon with Nightmare Imps acting as turrets. There's certain triggers around the map that'll cause the cyber demon to teleport from one end to the other, so sometimes you'll be chasing him down and he'll disappear and you have this moment of, oh shit, where'd he go? This is probably the most creative use of the classic cyber demon used in this engine that I've seen so far. Though the ones in the other two stages feel more like actual boss fights, where this one, you have nothing but a rocket launcher and you are constantly being hunted down by this guy. This is awesome. I loved this. Unfortunately, the Spider Mastermind isn't in this game. I would have really liked to have seen how it was updated with this game's art style. We have the Arachnotrons to give us a bit of a tease of that, and they look cool. They look way better than how they did in Doom 2. There's actually a couple of demons that didn't make the cut. You've got the Revenant, which was my favorite demon, both aesthetically and to fight. They're pretty fun. And the Archvile, who was my least favorite in everything. A soul for a soul, I guess. Though I would have loved to see how these guys looked in this game's art style, even if it didn't turn out very good. You will be encountering the Cyber Demon multiple times though, much like Doom 2. In the level right before last, you're supposed to kill 2 of them to end the level, but I couldn't figure out how to open up the cage. I went everywhere. I found a switch, but I wasn't entirely sure how to get myself elevated enough to hit it, so I just kind of fired between the cracks at them because I could still see them, and after like 10 minutes of firing the Unmaker, it worked. And just beat the level like that, alright. At last we have the Mother Demon herself. Her stage is actually set up really well, and holy shit, it's an actual boss fight. It's hard as hell, dude. Holy shit. A boss fight in Doom like this has never really been difficult before. This is awesome. The beginning of the fight is an endurance match against a fuckload of demons. Though if you picked up any of those demon key artifacts from the secret levels, you can close off the gates that spawn the demons, once again, rewarding you for actually going and looking for these secret stages, which is good job, Midway. Alright, Midway made this game. I forgot to mention that. She's got these homing fireballs that are similar to the Revenant's rockets, except these ones are, oh god, they're fast! This actually took me a good amount of tries. I tried spamming the BFG, I just tried shooting it with a plasma rifle, I tried the Unmaker, but eventually I did get it after running out of plasma ammo and the game switching me to the super shotgun automatically, delivering the final blow with the super shotgun, and that was super cool. No pun intended, fuck. With the mother of all demons defeated, Doomguy decides that it's best that he stays in hell forever to ensure that demons never get a chance to rise against Earth again. He alone punishes hell for all eternity, and god, I fucking love this ending. This is perfect. It's so simple, it's short, but god, is it so badass and fucking satisfying. And man, with the music, makes this such a perfect closer to the Doomguy's trilogy. He knows he won't be able to rest, his purpose is slaying demons, and he knows this. And hey, if they ever want to bring Doomguy back for a future game, this is the perfect way to send him off while maybe bringing him back in the future if they ever decide to do a sequel. This is what helped tie Doom 64 together into a nicely little wrapped adventure. The game got really experimental a few times. There were these stupid multi-key doors where you gotta push in keys in a certain combination to open certain doors. I thought that it just meant you had to have all 3 keys to get into a certain door, which is a cool idea. I would have liked to have seen that, but no, it just means that you have to go up to the top of this tower, flip these switches in a certain order, and that opens the door. And you have to do that 3 different times to flip a switch to finish the level. That was really annoying because I was too stupid to figure it out on my own, but on repeat playthroughs I think that'll be way more fun. But Doom 64 is an incredible sequel to the Hell on Earth that came before it. It's a great continuation both lore-wise and gameplay-wise. I know it's a bit weird for someone to care about the story in a Doom game, but I think that it's fun. It helps drive the adventure. With Doom 64 giving Doomguy the most lore and exposition I think he's ever had. I'm really glad that this game is getting re-released because I'd love to see this game become more accessible to casual Doom fans. This is a fantastic experience and a great game on top of it. It is a shame though that we won't get the next chapter in the Doomguy's story for another 19 years, god. I know that it's just a theory that this is the same Doomguy that was used in Doom 2016, but I'll talk about that when we actually get to the Doom 2016 video. But first,